How's it going, everyone? My name is Jakejames Lugo, and welcome to the channel. So let's continue our look with Nintendo's Pink Puffball Kirby for the third game that's taken on the Dreamland name for the Super Nintendo. Now, we've been looking at the cuddly one for a hot minute, so let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section about all these different reviews and just Kirby in general, some of your favorite games maybe. But one thing that is interesting is that I'm pretty sure none of you guys have checked out this game, so it's going to be a real treat for all of you as we review Kirby's Dream Land 3. Kirby's Dream Land 3 is the sequel to the second Game Boy adventure for Nintendo's Pink Puffball. However, it was not the third game released in the series. It's actually the fifth one to come out. Yeah, I know it's weird, but the game that released after Dream Land 2 was Kirby Superstar for the SNES. For now, just don't worry about it. Anyway, Dream Land 3 isn't really a true sequel to the second game. A few characters from before make another appearance, but the plot is pretty much unrelated to its predecessor. The game starts with Kirby enjoying some quiet time fishing on planet Popstar with a new friend named Gooey. So he's this random blob that just hangs around with Kirby at this point. Honestly, these games tend to throw in random stuff like this, so don't think too hard and just roll with it. While Kirby and Gooey are fishing, a dark cloud appears in the sky and begins taking over the entire planet. Kirby has to once again reunite with his animal friends and team up with others to battle the Cloud of Evil and save planet Popstar from becoming shrouded in darkness. One thing I really like is the visuals here. Dream Land 3 looks very different than the Game Boy games, taking advantage of the Super Nintendo's color palette to produce some great looking designs for Kirby and his friends. Everything has this Crayola style to it, like the world was drawn up with crayons on a piece of paper, and I really like it and don't think that there's any other SNES game that has this same type of look. For Dream Land 3, just about everyone makes a return from Dream Land 2, but there's even more new faces here. We get introduced to Nago the cat, Pitch the bird, and Choo Choo the octopus. Of course, with new friends comes new abilities to get around this whimsical world. But that doesn't mean that the foundation from previous Kirby games is missing. If you've played Dream Land 2 on the Game Boy before, you're gonna feel right at home. Real talk, the visuals of this game look really fantastic. It's very cute and cuddly for the entire world or universe that Kirby's in within Dream Land 3. It just looks very different than all the previous Kirby games that came beforehand. Kirby's Dream Land 1 and 2 and also Kirby's Adventure on the NES look very flat in comparison. The other thing that's really cute and funny is the reaction from Kirby's friends whenever you pair up with them. Some of the other friends that are around when you decide to pair up with somebody else, their like sad or just upset reactions is really funny. It's just really random. And it's like one of those silly little things that just sticks with you because you see it so many times, and it's just something so small, but I like little details like that. It just adds a little bit more whimsical and a little bit more of a cuter nature to these games, especially this one. But now let's talk about gameplay, because with all the other previous Kirby games that we looked at on this channel, there's a lot of similarities between them, but Kirby's Dream Land 3 does introduce some interesting and brand new elements to the franchise. Kirby's Dream Land 3 controls very similar to all the previous Kirby games, but we get some new powers that build off most of Kirby's original copy abilities. All of Kirby's new allies have unique abilities when pairing up with him. They put their own little twist on some of his powers after sucking up some of the baddies. Rick the Hamster, Coo the Owl, and Kind the Fish have very similar abilities to what they had in Dream Land 2, but I spent the majority of my time with all the new friends that Kirby meets throughout the game. Nago the cat is probably my favorite and probably also the best option for most of the game. He gives Kirby a double high jump and has a lot of great copy abilities that are very useful. Pitch the bird is the second in line because his run speed is really good and some of his copy abilities are useful too, but they're not as great as Nago if I'm being honest. And finally, there's Choo Choo, who to me is probably the worst one out of everybody. Sorry Choo Choo fans, but I gotta tell the truth here. Her abilities can be very situational and not always the best option in most levels. Choo Choo can help Kirby cling onto ceilings and allow him to float in the air briefly, but I didn't find this to be very helpful. So most of the time I paired up with someone else. You don't always need an ally to get through a stage, but I didn't notice certain areas that are nearly impossible to pass without abandoning your partner. I honestly don't like this at all. Being forced to drop an ally when I've gone through most of the stage without an issue kinda sucks. It just feels so unneeded. In total, there's over 30 stages in Dreamland 3, which are broken into 5 main areas with boss battles at the end. It's a whole lot of Kirby in one package, mostly because the Super Nintendo allows for a much bigger game. The difficulty I found to be a little lopsided towards the end, rather than spread out evenly across the whole game. It's a common issue that I've found with all of the Kirby games I've reviewed thus far, where things are real easy at the start and towards the middle, but spike upwards at the very end. This doesn't ruin the whole experience, however, it's just a nitpick I have about these games. Does Dreamland 3 still end up being great to play through though? Yes, it is, but there definitely could have been more tweaks to make everything a little bit better. So one thing I haven't really talked too much about, and mostly because it's kind of just thrown into this game just randomly for like almost no reason, is GUI and the multiplayer aspects of Dreamland 3. Yeah, this game you could actually play through with a second player. The sad part about this is that it doesn't really come into effect unless you have someone around you that's actually good at Kirby games, and you don't really need it to complete the game. It's just like this extra ability that you do have, like there's an option to do that, but it just feels kind of unneeded. Like you wouldn't know it if nobody else told you. And the thing is too is that you could still have GUI be controlled by an AI partner if you're just playing alone, so you kind of don't need a second player whatsoever, straight up. But most of the time when I was playing this game, I didn't really use GUI at all. I just didn't see a need to use him. Like there was no like tougher boss fights that I ran into that I could have really used the second player, because in the tough ones that I did face, like GUI would still just get killed super quickly, and like the difficulty of the actual fights wouldn't really change all that much. One thing I also do want to reiterate is the difficulty spikes in Dreamland 3. Like the previous Kirby games we've looked at on this channel, there is a harsh difficulty spike towards the very end. I don't know what it is with the Kirby games. They just have a very uneven and very weird take when it comes to challenge or increasing difficulty throughout their experiences. I wish they had a better handling on that. Either stay all easy for the majority of the actual game, or decide to actually put much more challenges spread out through the entire game. Kind of like what they did with the Donkey Kong Country series or any of the Mario games, but for whatever reason, Kirby is just kind of like all over the place when it comes to challenge. Some people don't mind that, but it's just something that sticks out to me. So the last thing I do want to touch on is the extra content in Kirby's Dream Land 3, because like Dreamland 2, this game does have some extra bonuses, but I don't know, just see exactly what I'm talking about here. So like its predecessor, Kirby's Dream Land 3 has multiple endings. You get the bad ending if you play through each stage and complete the final battle against King Dedede. However, this can change up if you go the extra distance. If you collect the bonus heart stars in every stage, you gain access to the true final level called Hyper Zone. This is where the true final boss takes place, but it's also where my admiration for Dreamland 3 really wears thin. And if I could just be real honest here for a bit, I know that completionists out there might love this, but I feel like getting all the heart stars in every stage is way too much to do for a very meager payoff. The problem is that every stage has its own condition for obtaining a heart star, and yet you're not given any hint on how to get them. Sometimes this could be as basic as finding a specific character or an item to give to someone at the very end of the stage, but other times it's not that clear on what to do. The smart thing would be to gather as many as you can while playing through the game organically the first time. However, I often found myself missing heart stars because I had no idea what to do. At the end of the stage, I'd run into a very disappointed character who was straight up judging me. This got annoying because I thought I covered every section of a stage only to find out I missed it. Eventually, I just decided to forget about the heart stars and play through the game normally, resulting in me getting the bad ending. This almost makes me wish that there were fewer heart stars placed in specific levels to gather, kinda like what they did in Dreamland 2. But having to go through every stage again just to find these heart stars is just not that fun. But is the reward satisfying enough for you to go through the trouble to do so? Well, you do get an extra scene after the battle with King Dedede, which opens up the final stage. Kirby obtains the Love Stick with all the heart stars that he can use to fight a being known as Zero. Zero is the giant source of dark matter that's the root cause of everything in the game. Battling Zero is straightforward and very similar to the final battle in Dreamland 2. You just have to whack Zero with the Love Stick and avoid all of his attacks until he's defeated. The final cutscene is pretty short, but it wraps up everything with a slideshow of Kirby and all of his friends. Like I said in my Dreamland 2 review, I don't feel it's worth the trouble unless you're a big completionist. I just find that the time you put into getting all of the heart stars doesn't pay off all that well. Yeah, you get a true good ending, but it's not that big of a blowout as you might expect. An extra thing I should touch on is that there's a bonus options menu that also has mini games that you can just play through straight from the main menu. However, in order to access it, you not only need to get the good ending of the game, but you also need to have interacted with all the different mini games throughout. Some of the characters that you run into when you're trying to get the heart stars have these mini games that you do need to complete in order to get them. It's a little bit annoying, but it's there in case you want to actually interact with them again. Personally, for me, at least for the ones that I got to, I just didn't care to do so afterwards. And again, I didn't really get the good ending in my game. I actually looked it up afterwards, so it seems like there was no point in including that unless you already completed the game. One other thing you do get from getting the good ending is also a boss rush mode, which is kind of cool if you like the boss fights in Dream Land 3. That's kind of a thing for most Kirby games now at this point, even ones that came after this. But once again, if you're not really feeling these boss fights, or if you don't really care for them all that much, you're not really going to get a whole lot of value out of this. Another thing that goes along with this is if you complete boss rush mode, you actually do get a variation of the good ending, which has a few like minor changes, but it's nothing too significant to really make you want to go through all this stuff all over again, or go through all those tough boss fights all over again towards the end of the game. It's just kind of there. It's literally just one minor picture change, so it's not really worth the effort. You're not really going to be losing your hair if you don't get to see something like this. Just look it up on YouTube. But with everything that I've said up to this point, can I recommend that you guys check out Kirby's Dream Land 3 on the Super Nintendo? I still think it's a cute game. It's a good, decent game. But like many other people, myself included, if you never really played this game before, or if you never played it over all these years it's been out, you're not really missing a whole lot. It's not like you're going to be missing key plot points of the entire Kirby franchise, or anything like super crazy that other Kirby games don't already have. I do like the new characters, especially Nago the cat is probably my favorite one out of this game, and I do like some of the new abilities, but the difficulty spikes that are kind of scattered throughout the game, as well as also some of the usefulness of some of Kirby's friends, could have been adjusted to be a little bit better, and honestly, I just don't like collecting all of the heart stars, or at least the way that they approach this. I would have rather had it like Kirby's Dream Land 2, where there's less heart stars to collect, that way you could get the good ending a little bit faster, and it's not so annoying, or at least not so frustrating, when you're trying to find these things, and you just end up just not finding out what's up without looking it up anyway. If you're a big Kirby fan and you just want to play all the different games involving the pink puffball, then by all means check out Kirby's Dream Land 3 on the SNES. You can actually play this via the Switch Online app right now for the Nintendo Switch. However, if you're just a casual Kirby fan, then like I said, you're not really missing a whole lot here. And there you go, everyone. Those are my thoughts about Kirby's Dream Land 3 on the Super Nintendo. Once again, I did play this game on the Nintendo Switch via the Switch Online app. That's kind of the easiest way to play that game. To be honest with you, I'm glad that I actually got a chance to play it, even though I never really felt like I was missing anything by not playing it after all these years. At least, you know, as a Kirby fan, it's just, I'm glad to say that I did so. Now, however, I'm really excited that eventually we're going to get to the Game Boy Advance games for Kirby, because trust me, there's a lot to say about those games, but we'll talk about all that stuff at a later date. Regardless though, those are just my opinions about Dream Land 3. Let me know what you guys think about this game down below in the comments section. Tell me, are you a fan of Kirby's Dream Land 3? Do you like the first two Dream Land games? Or what is your favorite Kirby game just overall? It doesn't even need to be the older games, it could be some of the newer games or the more recent ones we've even got on Nintendo Switch. Talk to me about that stuff down below in the comments section. Hey there everyone, thanks for watching this video. I appreciate all of your support as always. On the side here I have some game reviews and other cool videos you might like to watch. Make sure you leave me a comment down below and subscribe to the channel too. Don't forget to hit that bell icon to be in the know when I post up new videos for you to check out. I'll talk to you all again real soon. Peace out and stay epic everybody.